What is up, everybody? It is Grand Prix GTP02 here, coming to you once again from Humble Hyundai here in the north end of Houston, Texas, where today I've been given the keys to the newest version of one of South Korea's longer-running automotive offerings. Today, we're going to take a much deeper look at the newly reskinned 2018 Hyundai Sonata. Alright everyone, so let's get to it. The 2018 Hyundai Sonata. Now, if there's ever been a mid-sized family sedan over the past decade or so that really has tried to assert itself in the market much more prominently time and time again, then the Hyundai Sonata has definitely been one such vehicle deserving of such a title. However, unlike a lot of the previous design Sonatas to come before this one, this 2018 model seems to have a little bit more of a conservative side to it. Rather than Hyundai building an all-new car from the ground up, they simply based this 2018 model on the success and at the same time the same underpinnings that made up the 2015 through 2017 model years. Now, aside from the pretty extensive refresh done to the Sonata's exterior, as well as the few changes made to the interior and in terms of its technology, the Sonata has now become one of the most customizable mid-sized family sedans that you can buy anywhere, with now 7 different trim levels to pick from, covering a whole host of different price ranges. Now, these trim levels start at SE, then Eco, SEL, which is brand new for 2018, then Sport, Limited, which I have here, and of course the 2 turbo models which sit at the top of the pile, those being the Sport and Limited turbo models respectively. Now, at a sticker price just north of $28,500 as shown here after destination fees and everything else, this particular limited trim, dressed in the lakeside blue that I'm showing you here, definitely does have quite a lot of options to offer the buyer as standard. And we start here at this revised front fascia. We do have these beautiful wraparound headlights. This limited trim now comes with full LED headlights. And when I say full, I do mean it. You have the LED main bulb, the LED light guides going around your turn signal and main bulb here. The beautiful swept back design. I really like this sort of elegant kind of design to the front fascia here. You do have the stacked LED daytime running lights and LED fog lights. This revised front fascia also integrates the wheel air curtains, which go in through the front of the bumper and exit right here just in front of the tire. Now, as far as the overall design to this revised front fascia here, I've heard a lot of reports saying that it has a little bit of Genesis inspiration in it, which I can see. Things like these chrome-laced grille slats here, and also a bit of inspiration from the up-and-coming Elantra GT, now with a more cascading grille design compared to the old one, which kind of split itself in two here, mainly from the upper grille down to the lower portion as well. Now, there are some standard advanced safety features, but unfortunately, even though we do have this big Hyundai badge here, this particular one does not have anything like the forward collision alert or the automatic emergency braking. You have to go for the ultimate package on this in order to get it. Now, as I was saying before, this car is not entirely all new. Everything from the front of the front doors to the back of the rear doors is pretty much the same. So everything in the middle is exactly what you got from 2015 to 2017. However, as I said, the front and the rear, and even things like these wheels down here, are where you're going to see the biggest changes. Now, speaking of the wheels, these wheels on this limited trim are a little disappointing in my book. They're 17 inches in size, and they're riding on 215 series rubber all the way around. However, although the tire is very thick, and that does mean a little bit of a quieter ride, they don't exactly fill up the wheel well very nicely, if I'm honest. I wish they were maybe just a little bit bigger. I know you can opt for a bigger wheel design on the 2 turbo models. However, these 17-inch wheels that are standard pretty much on a lot of the lower trims, and that includes Everything from the SEL to the Sport to the Limited all have this 17-inch wheel design. So it is a little bit disturbing that they didn't give it something a little bit more differentiated to kind of set off the elegance that the Limited trim level is known for. Moving along the sides of the vehicle here, we do have the body colored side mirrors with LED turn signals. You also have the blind spot indication as noted by the little icons here in each of the mirrors. Again, that is standard equipment here on the Limited trim level, and it actually goes as low as the SE. You can actually now get blind spot monitoring in as low as an SE Package 1. So baseline SEs now have the blind spot monitoring as well. Up top, you do have a standard power tilting and sliding sunroof here on this Limited trim, and you also have the proximity key keyless access as standard on a lot of the higher end trims. Only lower end ones such as the SE will not give you that option, but everything else in the line pretty much has that as standard. That also comes with push button ignition and the hands-free smart trunk access at the back of the vehicle. Now, as we come around to the rear of the car kind of reminds me of the current generation Kia Optima with one big difference, and that is they've moved the license plate from the front, or rather the middle of the rear deck lid here, all the way down to the lower part of the bumper. So a little bit more of a clean and flush design to the rear of the Sonata, but this Limited trim level here does give you the full LED taillights. You of course have your Limited badging, and of course these new Sonata badges all the way across. Now, one thing that I find really interesting about this car is here at the back. There's no trunk latch, there's no trunk button here for the rear of the vehicle. Your rear view camera is hidden all the way down here by the license plate, but there actually is a trunk release, and it's hidden right here in the Hyundai logo. Have a guess where it is? You'll probably never guess that all you have to do is push the top of the Hyundai logo, and the trunk suddenly opens. Now, one final thing to note here with the exterior is that at the back of the Sonata, on 3 different trim levels, being the Sport and the 2 Turbo models, Hyundai will give you the dual trapezoidal exhaust setup, unlike the single outlet that's on this Limited trim level here, as well as a slightly differentiated lower rear fascia. But as we finish up with the exterior of the vehicle, again, I think this design is a very clean one. I love how Hyundai cleaned up the rear of the vehicle. The front actually has sort of an elegance to it. It's very nice, it's very rounded. It does have a certain amount of aggression to it with the sort of pinched down, swept back headlight design. But the fact that it's more rounded and it's a little more clean, especially with that new cascading grille, I really think that this car now has that air of elegance to it. And with the Limited trim level that I'm showing you here, having the more luxurious side to it, I definitely think that the design fits this car quite well. But does that design continue on with the interior? Let's open the door and find out. Now, when it comes to the Sonata's interior for 2018, again, it's just like the exterior. It's not all new, but again, it has been given a pretty significant refresh. But what is surprising is the high level of aesthetics that they've given this vehicle. For example, this Limited trim, you have this leather padding here all the way across the top of the door. It's not super plush, but it does provide a nice place to rest your arm. You have this beautiful accent that runs all the way from the driver's door, all the way around there to the passenger door, and then even continues in little accents here on the rear doors. And looking at it in my eyes from kind of an artistic perspective, this striped pattern here almost reminds me of the strings of a guitar. I don't exactly know why I made that comparison, but that's just how I see it. You do have some plastics on the door though, but it's not in the typical places. So kind of here in the middle, it is hard touch plastic. You have leather padding here for the middle part of the door. You have a leatherette-like material, which isn't exactly super plush here for the armrest, and same for the door grip. Now, this Limited trim level does give you 2-person driver's seat memory settings. That is standard equipment here. And also you do have your typical power amenities as well. That includes your power mirrors, power door locks with the keyless access as I showed you before. You have automatic up-down driver and passenger windows, and you also have your 2 rear power windows as well, along with window locks to go with it. Now, sitting down in the driver's seat of the Sonata, again, you do have that sort of refreshed and updated feeling here, especially when it comes to things like the steering wheel, the gauge cluster, and this updated center console that we'll talk about here just a little bit later. But overall, the same dynamics that made up the 2015 through 2017 model definitely applies here. I have excellent visibility all the way around, even out the back window there. And again, that class-leading interior space definitely makes itself known here. Plentiful amounts of legroom. Again, you'll see more in the back. I'm 6'1" and I can fit plentifully back there. But overall, it does feel nice and updated, but the same dynamics still apply here from before. Now, it is quite hot out here today, so we'll get the car fired up and we'll get our air conditioning running. So same Hyundai key as before, lock, unlock, trunk, panic. It does have the nice pocket-sized feel to it, and also the retractable key blade out of the bottom of the key fob there, but you just leave it in the vehicle, put your foot on the brake, hit the button on the dashboard, and alrighty, so we got ourselves cooling off here, and let's talk about this interior, because like I said, even though it's not all new from the ground up, it still does have quite a lot to offer as far as updates are concerned. Now, right here directly in front of the driver, we have this new 3-spoke leather-trimmed multifunction steering wheel. There is a slight change in the Sport and the Turbo models. You will still get the D-cut leather-wrapped steering wheel in there as well. But for the most part, you will get this standard 3-spoke design now that, as far as I can recall, was debuted on the newer Elantra GT, set to be coming out very soon. But it is still adorned with all of your typical functions, and it does have a very nice soft and supple feel to it. You got some nice grips up here at 10 and 2, and again, you have things such as your Bluetooth with voice recognition, hands-free radio controls, the button to control your little liquid crystal display up there in the new updated gauge cluster, as well as your cruise control functions to go along with it. Now, active cruise control is an available feature on the Sonata for 2018 still, but again, you have to go to the upper end Ultimate package for the Limited, or go to some of the higher end packages on the Turbo models in order to get such an option. The steering column is still tilting and telescoping, and it's manually adjustable, but everything just has a very nice air of newer quality to it. It just was starting to feel a little bit dated with the older Sonata, but now it really feels like it has come right up into the newer design leagues. Now, as far as that little display there in between your tachometer and speedometer, everything's very easy to understand. You can go activate different settings, such as the smart trunk system, and then you can scroll through different things: average and active fuel economy, trip meter, digital speedometer, and so on. And just, I really love the update to the gauge cluster, these new silver rings, the smaller temperature gauge and fuel gauge, and even the font. The temperature and the odometer here feels like it's been taken straight out of a Genesis product, and that really does add very, very nicely to the interior of this vehicle here. Now, really quickly, over to the left of your steering column, you have your instrumentation dimming, blind spot monitoring, which I said is standard here on pretty much all trims now, including the lower end SE, and things such as your fuel door opener, traction control, and trunk release along with it. But moving on over to the center console here, this is where you're going to notice a huge change, because this, to me, feels like part of it has been taken straight out of a Genesis G90, specifically with things like the switchgear and stuff down here, all your radio controls and everything like that. As far as the display, it is still a standard 7-inch display. It does include Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Touch responsiveness, it all depends on which one you push, but it does still take a little bit to actually activate or to actually get to where you need to go. I love the fact you can scroll things like a smartphone. I love how it does that. Again, if you go to all menus here, you can see Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You can update this to an 8-inch touchscreen with factory navigation, but I would just go for the Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, because even though it does use your cell phone data plan, you still can use things such as Google Maps and voice to text. So really a nice premium option, that Android Auto and Apple CarPlay thing. But as far as the radio is concerned, you can get an upgraded Infinity premium audio system, but this one just has the standard Hyundai stereo system for this lower end limited trim, but it still does provide a pretty decent sound to it. Now, like I said, it's not as crisp or as clear as, say, the Infinity audio system that you can get on this limited trim level here, but it does still provide a very nice sound, especially when you turn up the bass on that. And this does have the Clarify radio technology, so it does give you the crispest possible sound, if that's even a word. But again, you do have this rather nice updated switchgear here, and it's very easy to the touch. I mean, everything really doesn't require much of a touch to actually activate anything. And the same thing goes when you switch down here to the climate controls. Now, most of the lower end trims will give you a single zone climate control system. However, here on the limited, as you can see, we do have the dual zone setup. You have your fan controls, automatic air conditioning, the sync button, which allows you to control them independently or together. You have the heated and ventilated seats. As you can see, it's a hot day out here, so I have got those ventilated seats going full blast in here. Front and rear defroster, and you also have the air conditioning recycling and so on. Moving down here to the lower part of this area, you do have the USB and auxiliary inputs and two 12-volt 180 watt little outlets here. Nice little storage cubby, about the size of an average smartphone, so plenty of storage down here. And then we get to the center console. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the transmission, because although most trim levels, like this limited 2.4 liter model here, have the standard 6-speed automatic, some trim levels, such as the Eco, will have the 7-speed dual clutch automatic, and there is now an all new 8-speed automatic transmission for both the Sport and Limited Turbo models. So that will be a nice change for the higher performance lineup. You do have a thicker shift knob here, trimmed with a little bit of the sort of satin silver. It feels a lot thicker in your hands. It's not as thinly done as the older Sonata shifter knob, and none of that plasticky stuff either. I'm glad Hyundai actually got rid of that. You do have a little bit of black piano veneer down here, and again, it trails off into a leather shift boot. You do have a rear backup camera when you put the vehicle in reverse. Again, you do have the guidance lines, which when you turn the wheels, you can see they will turn in whichever direction you are going. Again, just the standard 6-speed automatic functions. You do have the drive mode select as well as the manual shift mode. If you go to the Sport or the Turbo models, you will get the paddle shifters up here mounted on the steering wheel, rather large ones as well, that you can use for the manual shift mode. But for everything else, it's pretty much the same as before. And again, the drive mode select, you have the 3 different modes: normal, eco, and sport. And those, of course, tune things such as throttle mappings, shift timings, and so on. Now, you also have a nice pair of cup holders here. Nice little area. Again, you can store your phone sitting upright like that here in this little area. And a very nicely sized center console. As you can see, I got my phone right here. Not quite a big enough tray for, say, a phone, but definitely deep enough, and quite a lot of storage area there in the middle. And last but not least, looking up here at the roof line, you do have the auto dimming rear view mirror with integrated compass, HomeLink garage door system, and the BlueLink telematics and car care, all integrated into the unit up top. You do have your standard sunglasses holder, and also, as I was saying, on this limited trim, you do have the power tilting and sliding sunroof. You just pull the trigger here, and back she goes. Now, when it comes to the Sonata's rear seat legroom and headroom, just like 2015 through 2017, this 2018 model staggers me as far as how much room you actually get here in the back seat. Again, I'm 6'1", so I am by no means small, and I have that seat in exactly the position I would be driving. Now, the back of the seats are plastic, so not exactly going to do your knees very good should you suddenly find your knees being propelled towards the back of the driver or passenger seat, but still plenty of legroom. I can definitely fit my hand easily in between my knee and the back of the seat. You do have one leather-bound mat pocket here on the passenger side, as well as a nice little USB phone charger integrated here into the bottom of the rear of the center console. But it's, again, legroom and headroom is really the plus in this car. As you can see, I do have quite a lot of room back here. You do have 60/40 split fold rear seats along with this nice little center pad here. So definitely a lot of room, and a big selling point as far as the mid-size car category. Now, another big selling point for the Sonata is its rear cargo capacity. Now again, you can open the trunk via the hands-free smart trunk access, the button inside, the button on the key fob, or the button on the trunk as I just showed you a bit ago. But once you open up, you actually have a pretty sizable opening here, and it reveals 16.3 cubic feet of cargo volume. Now, of course, like I said, you have 60/40 split fold rear seats as accessed by these little triggers here. So once you fold those seats down, you do have a nice little pass-through that will allow you greater storage here in the rear. Now, lifting up this carpet, you do have a compact spare tire underneath with a full toolkit and wheel locks included. So definitely another big selling point with quite a substantial amount of space here in the back. Now, as I've been saying this whole time, the 2018 Sonata is a very heavily refreshed version of the same Sonata that's been around since 2015. Case in point, what's under the hood? This limited tester I'm showing you here features Hyundai's 2.4-liter double overhead cam, 16-valve, gasoline direct fuel injected inline 4-cylinder engine. Now, this engine also features the same dual continuous variable valve timing, and it puts out the same 185 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. Now, for those seeking a bit more zip in their midsize sedan, there is also the available 2-liter twin-scroll turbocharged and direct injected 4-cylinder engine, making 245 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. Now, as far as fuel economy goes, for both the 2.4 and 2-liter turbo models, the figures seem to hover right around 25 miles per gallon in the city and 35 to 36 miles per gallon on the interstate highway for the 2.4-liter model, with just a hair under that for the 2-liter turbo. Now, being the fact that the IIHS has already given the 2018 Sonata a full 5-star rating in just about every category, it's fair to say that safety is definitely a talking point here. Now, there are some active safety features that are available on certain Sonata trims. However, standard ones are pretty prominent. Every car, pretty much from the SE up, as I said, does come with the blind spot detection system, and pretty much all of them will also come with rear cross traffic alert. Other active safety features available on certain trims include things such as the active cruise control, the automatic emergency braking, and forward collision alert. Now, once you sit yourself down into this Limited's beautiful, comfortable leather seats, you are simply cocooned in an array of airbags. You have the dual front impact airbags, you have side curtain and side impact airbags, as well as a driver's knee airbag, just to name them off. So, pretty fair to say, if you were in an accident, one way or another, you are definitely going to be protected. Now, as far as passenger comfort is concerned, again, it all depends on how well you have the seat adjusted. You do have a power adjustable seat here for the passenger side. Same goes for the driver's side, except the driver has the lumbar support. And as far as things such as the glove box, it's pretty deep. It's not exactly damped, and it's not lined in felt, so it's not super luxurious. But at the same time, it does hold everything you still need quite comfortably. But overall, even though this is just a major refresh of the current generation Sonata, it still does have enough of an update to feel almost like an all-new car. So definitely giving my thumbs up here as far as all of the updates that Hyundai has done to this car, and I cannot wait to see what they do further with this car in the future. And unfortunately, on that note, everybody, our time here with the 2018 Hyundai Sonata Limited has now unfortunately drawn to a close. I do hope you guys have enjoyed this review as much as I have had fun making it for y'all. Now, if you guys like what you see, please do give this video a thumbs up, and also be sure to click that subscribe button for many more videos like this to come in the future. But in the end, a huge thanks goes out to the folks here at Humble Hyundai for providing us with the Sonata here for us to give you guys a look at today. But again, guys, from here in the north end of Houston, Texas, this has been Grand Prix GTP 02, and I will see y'all next time. Take care, everybody, and stay safe.